Did you know there was trouble in the family?
No, I knew, like, I've been a pastor here 31 years, so and I've been married 38, so you know that marriage is hard. But they were very consistently involved. I mean, they were in a home group, with other couples. They had taught Sunday school here for a long time. Kim is just an excellent teacher, and both loving and good with kids. Jeff and Usher, and then Brandon. Brandon is kind of like, was only 22, but older than his age. Brandon got involved. We have a lot of media staff and so forth here, graphic artists who come from some great schools like Design, Art, and Architecture at UC. And so Brandon is a junior high kid, kind of got involved serving with these people and kind of had some on-job training as a young person in arts and graphic arts and media and so forth. So, he began serving in that area in the church. He's taught first and second grade here for 7 years. So there's a lot of children who have experienced him. He's been very good working with children. As a matter of fact, this weekend in all of our worship celebrations, Saturday night and Sunday, we're going to have grief counselors here because there's been so many children impacted by Brandon and their parents, their families. He had a global consciousness. Our church has been involved in Darfur since 2005. We've invested $4.4 million in projects there. And so he was one of a team of three who formed a group called Artists for Sudan. And they would recruit professional artists who raised some significant money, dollars, for what we're doing in Darfur. So you have this young 22-year-old who's had a significant service kind of impact.
Talk about grief counselors for the children this coming weekend. What are you going to tell the children? I mean, right now, the man that they might have seen in the hallways is accused of killing Brandon.
Right. One thing is we live in a world of where there is insanity. And just, because that we may love God or be involved in a church or synagogue or mosque and be good people, is that good people aren't insulated from evil or insanity that, is in the world. And where do we find God in it? And obviously we've kind of changed our whole direction of what we were planning for worship this week. And it's kind of that, why God? How does this kind of evil thing happen to good people, even people? How do good people who have had some years of history of doing good things and being weekly involved together as a family in the church, how do evil people even succumb? Are good people? How do good people even succumb to doing crazy, insane, kind of things? And where do we as a community find healing in the midst of grief? And it's why it's so important for us. In America right now, there's been a lot of polarization, and anger. And I think what really matters in times like this is where do we find commonality? And Brandon's last post on Facebook, just several hours before he died yesterday, was life is short, do something meaningful. And in his 22 years, he did more meaningful things than many people do in 90. And I think that it's a reminder. There's the positive in this thing is the reminder is we can look back at the life of this 22-year-old who was invested in the well-being of humanity.
How do you deal, though, with Pastor, the fact that this was a young man who was plagued with the disease? I mean, right now it looks like he's the victim of a murder.
Right.
I mean, how and by a man, the man accused is somebody that you embraced in this church.
Right.
Who served this church, who you last saw on Sunday. How do you grasp that? And
who I shared a room with on ski trips. It's to me it is I haven't grasped it. I mean I sat and mourned with Kim last night. I was there praying with Kim when the detective came in and said, Kim, we've got Zane. You know, we have Zane and he's safe. You know, I heard Kim's own words tell me, you know, here, I'm her pastor. You know, I believe God saved my life. And she sat there with her son and saw her son murdered, you know, to be mother to Zane. So to me, the grace of even seeing Kim at this point, with just utter, what I can't even imagine a parent experiencing, that Kim sees God's presence in this somehow, that God meets us in this kind of tragedy.
Pastor, let me ask you, because I think I started my question with, did you know of any trouble within the family? It sounds, however, like they had split or something. Did they come to you asking for counseling or something?
I know they were in counseling, and you know, it had been verbalized that they had separated, and you know, the Bible says God hates divorce, but sometimes there's worse things than divorce, in the pain we can create in each other's lives, and sometimes separation is the best kind of situation, and Kim was pursuing something that was healthy for Kim and her family. Yet even Kim was still doing positive things. That this past Sunday, she was in worship with Jeff and their young son Zane. You know, still trying to do what was best for Zane. And I do know that they were pursuing counseling.
Did you get the feeling, sir, and I think a lot of people are going to conjure in their mind what went on in that apartment, but is it your understanding that Brandon might have been protecting his mother? You
know, there's certain things I know right now that I can't share. You know, and I know about that situation, but in light of the legal and so forth, I can't speak to that. I do know that Brandon did not do anything to provoke.
And he may be really a true hero here.
Well, Brandon loved his mother. What was amazing is every time I talked to Brandon, how somewhere a mom got into that conversation, and Brandon loved his little brother to death, you know, and Brandon, I even know because Brandon said Saturday night, which is going to be tomorrow night, he was going to babysit his little brother, and he always looked forward to, you know, being with his little brother.
What would you say to Jeff? He's still on the loose, if he's still alive.
Well, I would say to Jeff that Jeff, do the right thing. You know, man, is you know, contact authorities. Is that we're never, no matter what we've done, we're never out of the reach of God's love. You know, or God doing something redemptive, and do the right thing and call the authorities. Man, get in touch with the authorities.
Thank you, Pastor.
I can't, the position